Hey Corey, James Parker, how's it going, mate? Thanks for sending me your golf swing in. Just spent a little time looking at it, slowing it down, making some notes, and I've just got your questionnaire up, mate. So you're up about 7 handicap. Your average score is about 79. You play a couple of times a week, practice every day. Looks like you're out there in the desert. Very nice way to spend your time, indeed. You want to get down to about 4 handicap. You want to work on your biggest problems are compressing the ball and contact. We could definitely talk about that. And your ball flight pattern, your shot pattern that you're struggling with is a pull draw. So why don't we start there, right? So before we get into it, and let's look at the path. What's going on at impact? So a pull is a shot that starts left, right? For a right-handed player, a pull's a shot that starts left. Now that could be caused by the path or the face to path relationship, right? I think your path is really quite nice coming down to impact, just slightly from the inside. I don't think the ball's starting left. I think the ball's starting pretty straightish, or fractionally to the right. You can definitely start the ball left from having the club face too closed. But just where the club face is there through impact, doesn't look like it's over rotating. We look at through impact here. You look at impact there. The club face isn't sort of majorly closed. Looks a little closed post impact there, doesn't it? Right. You look at it. You look at that. So I agree. Could be starting left and then just going even more left, right, with a pull draw. So I think that's caused more through a path issue, a face to path relationship, rather than the path being the main issue, right? But we've got so that's kind of the diagnosis of it. So that's what I'm observing, right? So the diagnosis of what's going on, and what I'm picking up is a few different issues, right? The first one being low point. I think we have a low point problem. So what do I mean by that? I mean the club head is just too low there before impact, right? Before impact. Now there's a few things going on. Yes, your head's moving back a little bit, but it's not exaggerated a lot, right? It's like an inch or two. I could pull plenty of guys on tour who move their head back that much through impact. So that's not the main issue as to why the low point is a little issue, right? You put down as one of your biggest challenges was ball compression and contact, and I think working on your low point is going to really improve that. So where does it come from? Well, if you look as you come down here, I want you to focus on the right foot, right? And as you start coming down, you can see how your right foot's still planted on the ground. You start moving your heel towards the target, which is what I like, right? But what we're looking for would be where your right foot is about there, right? Where the inside of your big toe is the only kind of connection to the ground that you have. I'm really looking for that sort of position at impact, right? And even there, look, you've still got maybe all of your toes on the ground. The ball of your foot's coming off the ground, but you still got all your toes on the ground. So we just want to feel as though the inside of your big toe is what's connected to the ground through impact, right, and post impact. And then the more you turn and stuff like that, then you end up kind of on your toes. So to get better contact, what I'm saying is we need to get off this right foot faster, right? So we need we need to work on our pressure transfer. Now the weight transfer is pretty good, right? As we go back, if we're working on pressure, we've got to start talking about weight as well. So as we go back, we're kind of there's a little bit of shifting, isn't there? Right, not really excessively to the right, but there's a little bit of shifting to the right. You can see how that left hip kind of moves away from the line. Your left knee kind of comes down and in a little bit, which I don't mind. But there's definitely a movement outside your right hip, isn't there? Right. So what I'm saying is, by transferring your pressure earlier, right? So by transferring your pressure into your lead foot a lot earlier, that's going to help you also with your weight and keeping your hips forward and moving them even more forward, and even kind of moving your head a little bit forward as well, right? So the way that we're doing it is you're loading into this right foot during the backswing, which is what we want, right? But by the time we get up to the top, we should already be starting to transfer the pressure into our left foot in preparation to start the downswing, because halfway down there, when the arm's parallel with the ground, we want maximum pressure under that left foot, right? So the best way to think about, and I just don't think you're doing that. I don't think you're doing that at all, right? You can see where your left knee is. If you transferred the pressure into your left foot, you'd also start to see your left knee move outside your ankle a little bit, right? Which is also going to help you open your turns more, which is one of your faults. We're going to talk about that in a second. So these kind of things have a knock-on effect. They're going to affect other things in your swing as well. And as you can see, as you come down, even though your hips are moving towards the target, right, producing that right tilt, still a lot of the right foot. Still a lot of the right foot on the ground, right? So the way to do it is by transferring your pressure a lot earlier, right? Yes, load into your right foot going back, but once you get to about around here, right, we want to start moving the pressure onto our left foot. Now, a little point with regards to your takeaway and why you could be shifting off the ball would be just how wide your hands are here. You can see there's a lot of space in between your hands and your right pocket, right, which produces tremendous turn, right? But what it can also do, just from doing this a long time and understanding the patterns of golfers, good golfers, amateur golfers, pros, is the further you have your hands away from your body, it kind of pulls your body along for the ride as well, right? So I would work on having more left wrist cock by the time you got to around here, right? So let's get your hands just outside your right thigh, but then cock your left wrist up, and then you'll see the club. You'll see the club around there. You see the club around parallel with the ground at that point, right? Let's put these lines back. So that'll help you with drifting off the ball, right? That'll help you with moving to the right a little bit too much, right? That takeaway. But from here, halfway back and to the top, we have to start settling into our left foot, right? And I don't think you're quite doing that. You still have too much pressure under your right foot at the top, and still too much pressure under your right foot as you're starting down, right? You want to be starting to transfer the pressure, right? Moving the pressure, shifting the pressure onto your lead foot before the club has finished its backswing, right? You want to get onto your left foot, get on your left side in preparation to start your downswing, right? That's the best advice I could do. And, you're already a member inside the academy, so there's a video course called the weight and footwork model, so just go over that again, right? Some really useful information. So that'll help you with your low point, right? That'll help you get more onto your left side, help the low point. The next thing is is path and hand path in particular. I actually really like the lines that you've got on your backswing. You turn nicely. You got a nice full turn. I really like the top of your swing position, right? One of the things I like is, if we draw a line up from your right shoulder, your hands are just a little bit behind that, right? 3-4 inches, something like that. So I really like that position. What I also really like about it is the look of how you look as though you're starting to bow that left wrist, right? Which you're kind of getting it out the way, you're feeling it there, and you just got to carry on feeling it as you come down and hit the shot. As you come down, hands and club through the middle of your right bicep, right? So you're really on plane. That's a nice pattern that you see most of the pros in, right? Coming down into impact, perfectly between the two lines. So the path coming down into impact is really good. So I don't want to really change the path coming down into impact. What I do want to change is how much your turn. Now this will maybe start to come down a little bit more on top of it, but I definitely want to change a few things post impact, which are affecting your pull, which are affecting why the club face is turning over, right? Number one is your hands. You can see, we get down to P6, draw a circle around your hands. Your hands are pretty much going straight from P6 all the way through P7, P7.5, and now they start moving left, right? So they're not moving left enough, right? The hands from P6 should start to be moving left, right? Post impact about there, right? Your hands should already be behind your body, right? Your right arm should not be out here, right? So because your right arm's out there, you've got a little bit of a connection issue. There's a bit of space under your right arm, right? So we need your hands moving inward more. We need your hands moving left more post impact. And to help you do that, we're going to keep your right arm more connected to your torso. Now, I see that in this, you got a little head cover under there or something. So you kind of know what you should be working on. You're just not quite doing it efficiently enough, right? You can see the head cover under your right arm to keep your connection. But if you look at your turns, where you are, let's look at impact. We look at impact. You've definitely got your shoulders out the way a little bit. Kind of see a little bit of your left butt, which tells me your hips are out the way a little bit. But when we look at P8, which is right arm parallel with the ground, let's say there, definitely lacking in hip turn and definitely lacking in shoulder turn, right? So that would explain as well why you see the shaft and your hands kind of come out. The shaft's coming out, club's kind of coming out through your shoulder and then slightly above your shoulder. Hands definitely start to drift out above your left shoulder as well, don't they? Up there, right? We want to see them come out sort of near this red line underneath your left shoulder. Club and hands, okay? And so that's going to affect the path, right? That's going to get your hands moving left, which is going to affect the path of the club. And with regards to the face to path relationship, same issues, right? We want to keep your hands moving left. We want to keep that right arm more connected to your torso, and we want to make sure we're turning harder, so that at that point at P8, right, we start to see your hips and shoulders both turned, 80 odd degrees, right? You're lacking in those turns at that point, right? And that's probably why your arm comes off your chest. Excuse me. Your hands are a little bit too high. From just going off patterns that you see different golfers. This is definitely a pattern that produces that club face whipping over, that club face turning over, and you can kind of see that there, right? Just how much the face has turned over, right? So that's kind of what we what are we deciding to do? What changes need to take place to positively alter the shot patterns, right? So that's what we're deciding to do. So then how do we implement those changes? Well, the first one, which we talked about, which was low point, right? Let's get rid of these lines. I think I talked about that already, right? To affect the low point, we want to transfer the pressure earlier, right? So at impact, the only thing we want on your right foot is the inside of your big toe, right? So you've got to transfer your pressure before the club gets to the top of the swing. You want to push down, feel as though you're squashing the tomato under this foot before the club gets to the top, right? That's the best way of thinking about it. So you've already assumed a little bit of bias under your left foot. As you start down, you really squash the tomato, and then as we get down into impact, the right foot is just the inside of your big toe is the only part of your right foot which is touching the ground, right? Then what we want to work on is opening our turns more, right? Opening our turns more, which will then move the hand path inwards, right? So at this point, what I'm saying is, at this point, P8, right arm parallel with the ground, your hips are there, your shoulders are there, and just to give you an example, right? This is DJ, but if we look at him at P8, right arm parallel with the ground, you look at his hips, you look at his shoulders, right? That's what I'm saying, right? We need more rotation out of the way, right? You got to try and get your chest and your belt buckle facing the target, whereas at the moment your chest is kind of still pointing out to the right, your belt buckle still pointing out to the right at this point, right? We need them turning round more, right? So you can just practice it statically, practice it in slow motion, have some short little back swings, and then really focus on turning hard out the way. That's a good way of practicing it, right? And then the last one, the things that we're going to implement, these are the changes we're actually going to make, is your arm connection, right? So, the one thing that stands out to me is P. So we're at P7 impact. And that, I talked about how, from this position, how we want the hands moving left. And your hands are still going straight through impact, post impact. The good players actually get the hands moving left through impact, right? So the club head is still attacking the ball from the inside, but the hands are actually moving left through impact. And then post impact, they're moving even more left. So, certainly at that sort of position, you see the hands start to disappear behind their body at that point. Your right arm's still out there, right? So your hands are still here instead of being behind your body, and your arm moved inwards. If your arm was moving inwards more, you'd start to see the club come out here. You'd start to see your hands come out here underneath your left shoulder. Okay, so it's arm connection, right arm connection. You're going to be able to keep your right arm more connected by turning harder, right, to open your turns more. And then it's left. So the point we're looking at for how we can detect change, if you like, is that position just after impact, right? So it's kind of P7.5, P7.6 or something like that. Before position 8, we want our arm inward more, right? So let me pull an example up, good example for you. Pull up Rocky maybe. Use Rocky earlier. It was a great example. Right, so you watch his, right, so he comes down to P6, right, draw a circle where his hands are, Right, so watch his hands. You see how his hands from P6 are always kind of moving left? Right, so he hits it, but look how much more left his hands are moving. Right, so his hands start to disappear as long as the camera's positioned correctly. Right, you want the camera sort of in line with your hands, just outside your toe line, if you like. But you can see how his hands are disappearing behind his body. Right, his hands are kind of round here, which then makes his arm move more inward. Right, so you can see there's no space underneath his right arm. He's got connection, right? Whereas you're kind of drift, your hands moving a bit too straight. And then from there, you can see how the club and his hands come out underneath his left shoulder. Right, there's his left shoulder. There's his hands. Right, there's your left shoulder. Your club's coming out through it and above it, and your hands are definitely coming out above it. And then when you finish, look at all this space underneath your left arm. Right, you look at how he comes through. Right, and look how he's got this nice sort of L shape with his left arm. If he had a T-peg underneath his left arm, he's still pinching that T-peg. That's what I'm saying. Right, so he's kept his left arm connected. So that's a good drill for you. Just get a couple of T-pegs underneath each armpit. And you want to kind of hit shots, keeping the T-pegs, pinching the T-pegs against your torso. All right. And that's it, mate. That's it. So, we went through it. We observed your shape. We kind of diagnosed the problems. We decided what changes needed to take place to alter the shot patterns. And then we talked about how we're going to implement the changes. So just go through those. If you have any questions or comments, just shoot me an email and I'll get back to it when I can. Cheers, bud.